Our world is on fire. Not literally, though climate change might have something to say about that, but figuratively. We're consumed by division, greed, and a hunger for power that seems to consume everything in its path. Look around. What do you see? Political turmoil, economic uncertainty, and a growing sense of unease that permeates our daily lives. We are a species out of balance, teetering on the edge of chaos. This isn't a new phenomenon. History is littered with the wreckage of civilizations that fell prey to the same destructive forces. We see it in the headlines every day. Powerful men, drunk on wealth and influence, making decisions that benefit only themselves. We see it in the cutthroat world of business, where backstabbing and sabotage are rewarded over collaboration and integrity. And tragically, we see it in our personal lives, where relationships crumble under the weight of jealousy, resentment, and betrayal. We are, each and every one of us, both victims and perpetrators in this grand drama of dysfunction. But why? What is it about human nature that drives us to these extremes? Are we doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past, forever locked in a cycle of self-destruction? Or is there another way, a path to a better future built on empathy, understanding, and a genuine desire for the common good? This is the question that haunts our generation, and the answer, if there is one, lies in confronting some uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world we've created. This isn't the first time humanity has stared into the abyss. Throughout history, the same toxic cocktail of jealousy and unchecked ambition has poisoned societies, leading to their inevitable downfall. From the Roman Empire, brought low by internal power struggles and insatiable greed, to the French Revolution, where envy and resentment ignited a firestorm of violence, we see the same patterns repeating themselves time and again. The ancient Greeks, in their wisdom, understood the dangers of hubris, that intoxicating blend of pride and arrogance that blinds us to our own failings. They even had a word for it, pleonexia, which encompasses not just greed, but the insatiable desire for more than one's fair share. This insatiable hunger, this need to have it all, is at the root of so much of the suffering we see in the world today. But it's not just men who are to blame. The Jezebel effect, that potent combination of feminine manipulation and the ruthless pursuit of power, has played its own insidious role in this drama. From Cleopatra's cunning seduction of Mark Antony to Anne Boleyn's tragic rise and fall, history is replete with examples of women who used their beauty and charm as weapons to advance their own agendas. We are at a crossroads. The path we choose now will determine the fate of our species. We can continue down the road we're on, fueled by the same destructive patterns of jealousy, greed, and the lust for power. Or we can choose a different path, one based on empathy, understanding, and a genuine desire to create a better world for ourselves and future generations. Breaking free from these chains requires a fundamental shift in our thinking. We must move beyond the blame game, the endless cycle of finger-pointing and accusations, and acknowledge our own complicity in the systems we've created. Men must confront the toxic aspects of masculinity, the need for dominance and control that has led to so much suffering. Women must examine the ways in which they internalize and perpetuate patriarchal structures, often at the expense of other women. This is not about tearing each other down, but about building each other up. It's about recognizing that true strength lies not in power over others, but in the courage to confront our own shadows and embrace the fullness of who we are. It's about understanding that we are all interconnected, that the choices we make individually and collectively have ripple effects that extend far beyond our immediate sphere of influence. History whispers warnings from the dust, tales of once mighty empires brought low by the same poisons that course through our veins today. The Roman Empire, a sprawling testament to human ambition and architectural grandeur, crumbled from within, eaten alive by corruption, decadence, and the relentless pursuit of power. The emperors, seduced by their own authority, became tyrants, their reigns marked by paranoia and brutality. But Rome wasn't alone. The pages of history are littered with the wreckage of civilizations that succumbed to the same fatal flaws. The ancient Greeks, for all their intellectual prowess and artistic brilliance, were torn apart by internal strife, their city-states locked in endless cycles of warfare fueled by pride and ambition. The Ottoman Empire, once a beacon of Islamic power, withered under the weight of its own bureaucracy, its sultans more concerned with amassing wealth and indulging in lavish excesses than governing effectively. These cautionary tales serve as a stark reminder that no civilization, no matter how powerful or sophisticated, is immune to the corrosive effects of human weakness. Jealousy, greed, and the lust for power are timeless and universal temptations, whispering their seductive promises in the ears of those who hold sway over the destinies of nations. And what of the women in these stories? Were they merely innocent bystanders, helpless victims of the machinations of ambitious men? History tells a different story. From the seductive whispers of Cleopatra, who brought the mighty Roman Empire to its knees, to the ruthless ambition of Catherine the Great, who clawed her way to the Russian throne, women have always been active players in the game of power. Their weapons may have been different, beauty, charm, and cunning in a world dominated by men, but their ambitions were no less grand, their thirst for influence no less insatiable. Some believe the seeds of our destruction were sown long before the rise and fall of earthly empires, that the patterns of betrayal and the lust for power are woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. They point to the Lucifer experiment, a chilling tale whispered in hushed tones by those who claim to know the hidden truths of the universe. According to this theory, Lucifer, once a radiant angel bathed in divine light, was consumed by envy and pride. He coveted the power and adoration bestowed upon humanity, and in his arrogance he dared to challenge the divine order, sparking a celestial war that ended in his fall from grace. Cast down to the earthly realm, he became a corrupting influence, whispering temptations in the ears of humankind, urging them to embrace their baser instincts. Whether or not one subscribes to this ancient myth, it serves as a powerful metaphor for the seductive nature of power and the dangers of unchecked ambition. It reminds us that the potential for darkness lies dormant within even the most seemingly righteous hearts, waiting for the right conditions to take root and flourish. The echoes of this ancient struggle, this cosmic battle between good and evil, can be seen in the conflicts that rage within our own hearts, the constant tug of war between our better angels and the darker impulses that threaten to consume us. In the modern world, the battle for power is no longer fought solely on blood-soaked battlefields or within the gilded cages of royal courts. It has seeped into every facet of our lives, playing out in boardrooms and bedrooms, in the halls of government and the virtual arenas of social media. The currency of chaos is no longer measured solely in armies and gold, but in information, influence, and the ability to shape the narratives that define our reality. We are bombarded with messages designed to divide us, to stoke our fears and insecurities, to pit us against one another in a never-ending competition for resources, recognition, and a fleeting sense of superiority. The 24/7 news cycle, fueled by outrage and sensationalism, bombards us with a constant stream of negativity, eroding our empathy and leaving us feeling anxious, isolated, and distrustful of those around us. Social media, once hailed as a tool for connection and community, has become a breeding ground for envy, comparison, and the relentless pursuit of validation. We curate carefully constructed online personas, showcasing only the most glamorous and enviable aspects of our lives, while concealing the messy, imperfect truths that lie beneath the surface. This constant exposure to curated realities distorts our perceptions of ourselves and the world around us. We begin to believe that everyone else is leading happier, more fulfilling lives, fueling a sense of inadequacy and discontent. This in turn makes us more susceptible to the manipulations of those who profit from our insecurities, those who peddle easy answers and false promises, all the while tightening their grip on the levers of power. Look closely at the world stage, at the men and women who hold the reins of power, who shape the policies that govern our lives. Are they truly masters of their own destinies, driven by a genuine desire to serve the greater good? Or are they too puppets dancing on a string, beholden to unseen forces that whisper in their ears, pulling the strings of their ambition and exploiting their weaknesses? The corridors of power are often haunted by whispers of shadowy cabals, of secret societies and powerful lobbies that operate behind the scenes, their true agendas veiled from the public eye. They traffic in information, in influence, and in the subtle art of manipulation, shaping the narratives that define our reality and steering the ship of state towards destinations that serve their own narrow interests. The mainstream media, once a watchdog tasked with holding power to account, has become increasingly beholden to corporate interests and political agendas. News is often filtered through a lens of bias and spin, designed to shape public opinion rather than inform it. Investigative journalism, that vital pillar of a functioning democracy, is under threat. Its resources dwindling, its voice often drowned out by the cacophony of the 24/7 news cycle. And what of the so-called leaders of the free world? Are they immune to the corrupting influence of wealth and power? History teaches us otherwise. Time and again we have seen charismatic figures rise to prominence, promising hope and change, only to succumb to the same temptations that brought down their predecessors. They become intoxicated by the trappings of power, surrounded by sycophants who tell them what they want to hear, shielding them from uncomfortable truths and reinforcing their own inflated sense of self-importance. The suppression of dissent is a hallmark of authoritarian regimes, but it is a subtle and insidious force that can also take root in societies that pride themselves on freedom and democracy. When those in power are surrounded by yes men and women, when critical voices are silenced and alternative perspectives are stifled, the stage is set for disastrous decision-making and the erosion of public trust. The price of silence is steep. It breeds complacency, apathy, and a sense of helplessness among the populace. It allows corruption and injustice to flourish unchecked, as those who dare to speak out are ostracized, demonized, or worse. Whistleblowers, those courageous individuals who risk their careers and reputations to expose wrongdoing, are often treated with suspicion and hostility, their motives questioned, their characters assassinated. The Jezebel effect rears its ugly head in this context as well. Women who dare to challenge the status quo, who refuse to play by the rules of a patriarchal system, are often labeled as troublemakers, as difficult or emotional, their concerns dismissed as the product of hysteria or hormones. Their ambition is perceived as a threat, their intelligence as a liability, their very presence in positions of power seen as an affront to the natural order. This silencing of women's voices has a profound impact on society as a whole. It deprives us of valuable perspectives, insights, and experiences that are essential for effective decision-making and the creation of a just and equitable society. It perpetuates harmful stereotypes and reinforces the notion that women's roles are best confined to the domestic sphere, their contributions to the public realm unwelcome and suspect. In a world saturated with information, it is easier than ever to distract ourselves from the uncomfortable realities that surround us. We are bombarded with entertainment, with social media updates, with a constant stream of trivia and spectacle designed to keep us perpetually engaged. Our attention spans shrinking, our critical faculties dulled. This culture of distraction serves the interests of those in power. It keeps us entertained and pacified, less likely to question the status quo or challenge the narratives that shape our understanding of the world. It encourages us to focus on our own individual desires and anxieties, fueling a sense of competition and scarcity, rather than fostering a spirit of cooperation and collective responsibility. The entertainment industry, with its endless parade of superheroes, celebrities, and reality TV dramas, provides us with a constant stream of escapism, a way to numb ourselves to the anxieties and injustices of the real world. We become addicted to the dopamine hits of likes, shares, and followers, our sense of self-worth increasingly tied to our online personas and the validation of strangers. This constant bombardment of stimuli has a profound impact on our cognitive abilities. It impairs our ability to focus, to think critically, to engage in meaningful dialogue, and to empathize with those who are different from us. We become increasingly reactive, driven by emotion and impulse, rather than thoughtful reflection and reasoned debate. We live in an era of unprecedented technological advancement, a time of dazzling innovation and boundless possibility. Yet for all our progress, for all our scientific breakthroughs and material abundance, we seem no closer to solving the fundamental problems that have plagued humanity for millennia. In some ways, our technological prowess has only amplified our capacity for destruction, our ingenuity outpacing our wisdom. The internet, once hailed as a democratizing force that would connect the world and empower the individual, has become a double-edged sword. While it has undoubtedly facilitated the spread of information and created new avenues for communication and collaboration, it has also become a breeding ground for misinformation, hate speech, and online radicalization. Social media platforms designed to connect us have paradoxically contributed to a sense of isolation and alienation as we retreat into our online echo chambers, surrounded by those who share our biases and reinforce our pre-existing beliefs. We become increasingly polarized, our online interactions characterized by outrage, hostility, and a lack of empathy for those who hold different views. The rapid pace of technological change can leave us feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and disconnected from the natural world and our own humanity. We become slaves to our devices, our attention spans fragmented, our sleep disrupted, our bodies and minds craving the dopamine hits of constant stimulation. We stand at a precipice. The choices we make today, both individually and collectively, will determine the course of human history. Will we continue down the path of destruction, driven by the same primal urges that have led to countless conflicts and the unraveling of civilizations past? Or will we choose a different path, one paved with empathy, wisdom, and a genuine desire to create a more just and sustainable future for all? The hour is late, but it is not too late. We still have time to change course, to break free from the toxic cycles of jealousy, greed, and the lust for power that have held us captive for far too long. But time is a precious commodity, and it is slipping through our fingers like grains of sand. We must act now with urgency and determination if we are to avert the worst-case scenarios that loom on the horizon. The challenges we face are daunting, but they are not insurmountable. We have overcome seemingly insurmountable odds before, pulling ourselves back from the brink of disaster through collective action, ingenuity, and an unwavering belief in the human spirit's resilience. We can do so again, but it will require a fundamental shift in our thinking, a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the systems we have created. We must move beyond the blame game, the endless cycle of finger-pointing and accusations that only serve to deepen divisions and prevent us from addressing the root causes of our problems. It is time to acknowledge our shared humanity, to recognize that we are all interconnected, our fates intertwined. The choices we make today will have a ripple effect, impacting not only our own lives, but also the lives of generations to come. While it is tempting to focus solely on the grand scale, on systemic change and the actions of those in positions of power, we must not underestimate the transformative power of personal responsibility. Each of us has a role to play in creating a better world, starting with our own thoughts, words, and actions. We must begin by looking inward, examining our own hearts and minds for traces of the same poisons that we so readily condemn in others. Are we harboring jealousy, resentment, or a desire for power and control? Are we contributing to the culture of negativity, cynicism, and division that permeates our society? Self-awareness is the first step towards healing. We cannot change what we do not acknowledge. Once we become aware of our own shortcomings, we can begin the difficult but necessary work of personal transformation. This is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process, a lifelong journey of growth and self-discovery. We must cultivate empathy, that ability to understand and share the feelings of others, even those who are different from us or hold opposing views. Empathy allows us to see the world through the eyes of others, to connect with their humanity, and to find common ground even in the midst of disagreement. We must practice compassion, both towards ourselves and towards others. We are all flawed human beings, doing the best we can with the knowledge and resources we possess. We all make mistakes, and we all have the capacity for growth and change. By extending compassion to ourselves and others, we create a more forgiving and supportive environment for healing and transformation to occur. For too long, our world has been shaped by narratives of scarcity, competition, and division. We have been conditioned to believe that there is not enough to go around, that our gain must come at the expense of others, that we must constantly be on guard against those who would seek to take what is rightfully ours. This narrative is a lie. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy that only serves to perpetuate conflict, inequality, and suffering. We have the power to choose a different story, to create a new narrative based on abundance, cooperation, and interconnectedness. Imagine a world where we celebrate our differences, recognizing that diversity is a strength, not a weakness. Imagine a world where we prioritize collaboration over competition, understanding that we can achieve far more together than we ever could alone. Imagine a world where we view our resources as shared assets, to be stewarded wisely for the benefit of all, not hoarded for the benefit of a select few. This is not a utopian fantasy, but a real possibility, a future within our grasp if we have the courage to envision and the will to create it. It will require a fundamental shift in our values, a move away from the relentless pursuit of material wealth and towards a greater emphasis on well-being, happiness, and social connection. It will require us to redefine success, not just in terms of individual achievement, but also in terms of our contribution to the collective good. It will require us to embrace a more holistic view of ourselves and the world around us, recognizing that we are not separate from nature, but an integral part of a vast and interconnected web of life. Building a better world begins with the courage to connect, to reach beyond the confines of our own limited perspectives and engage with those who are different from us. It requires a willingness to listen with open hearts and minds, to suspend judgment, and to seek understanding rather than seeking to be right. This is not always easy. Our instincts often lead us to surround ourselves with like-minded individuals, those who share our values and reinforce our beliefs. But true growth occurs when we step outside of our comfort zones, when we engage with those who challenge our assumptions and force us to confront our own biases. Meaningful connection requires vulnerability, a willingness to let down our guard and show up as our authentic selves, imperfections and all. It requires us to be present, to truly listen to what others have to say, and to respond with empathy and compassion rather than defensiveness or judgment. In a world increasingly driven by technology, it is more important than ever to cultivate real-world connections. Put down your phone, step away from the screen, and engage with the people around you. Have a conversation with a stranger, volunteer in your community, or simply spend quality time with loved ones, truly listening to and appreciating their perspectives. True connection goes beyond the superficial. It requires us to look beyond outward appearances, social status, and material possessions, and to recognize the shared humanity that binds us all. It requires us to see each other as fellow travelers on this journey of life, each carrying our own unique stories, struggles, and aspirations. We live in a culture that often values image over substance, where we are bombarded with messages that tell us our worth is tied to our appearance, our possessions, and our social media following. This constant comparison and competition create a breeding ground for envy, resentment, and a sense of inadequacy. To connect on a deeper level, we must move beyond this superficiality. We must learn to value authenticity, vulnerability, and the courage to be ourselves, even when it feels uncomfortable or scary. We must create spaces where it is safe to be vulnerable, to share our stories, and to support each other through life's inevitable challenges. This means letting go of the need to judge, to categorize, and to put people in boxes. It means approaching each other with curiosity, with a genuine desire to understand the world through the eyes of another. It means recognizing that our experiences, while unique, are also interconnected, and that we can learn and grow from each other's stories. Never underestimate the power of small acts of kindness, compassion, and connection. Just as a single stone cast into a pond can create ripples that extend outward, so too can our individual actions have a profound impact on the world around us. When we choose to connect with others in meaningful ways, when we act with kindness and compassion, we create a ripple effect that extends far beyond our immediate sphere of influence. We inspire others to do the same, and gradually we begin to shift the collective consciousness, creating a world that is more loving, more just, and more sustainable. This is not about grand gestures or heroic acts of self-sacrifice, but about the everyday choices we make, the ways in which we interact with each other in our homes, our workplaces, and our communities. It is about choosing love over fear, empathy over judgment, and connection over isolation. It is about recognizing that we are all in this together, that our fates are intertwined, and that the choices we make today will shape the world we leave behind for future generations. It is about embracing our shared humanity and working together to create a future worthy of our highest aspirations. The walls are crumbling around us. The very foundations upon which we've built our world are cracking under the weight of our collective dysfunction. We can no longer afford to ignore the warning signs, the echoes of history whispering of empires fallen and civilizations brought low by the same toxic patterns that are playing out on the global stage today. We've seen how the lust for power, fueled by jealousy and unchecked ambition, has corrupted those in positions of authority, turning leaders into puppets and servants into silent accomplices. We've witnessed the corrosive effects of a culture obsessed with image over substance, where distraction reigns supreme and genuine connection is sacrificed at the altar of fleeting pleasure and virtual validation. But amidst the ruins, a glimmer of hope persists. For within each of us lies the potential for change, the capacity to break free from the chains of our own making and choose a different path. The first step is acknowledging the depth of the crisis, confronting the uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the systems we've allowed to flourish. We must move beyond blame and judgment, recognizing that we are all both victims and perpetrators in this grand drama of human dysfunction. The Jezebel effect, that potent cocktail of manipulation and the ruthless pursuit of power, is not confined to the annals of history or the shadowy corridors of government. It thrives wherever insecurity, envy, and the hunger for control take root, poisoning our relationships, our institutions, and our very souls. Yet, even in the darkest of times, the seeds of change are being sown. Across the globe, individuals are awakening to the need for a new way of being, a way of life rooted in empathy, compassion, and a deep reverence for the interconnectedness of all things. They are rejecting the old narratives of scarcity, competition, and division, choosing instead to embrace a vision of abundance, cooperation, and shared responsibility. These changemakers understand that true power lies not in dominance or control, but in the courage to connect, to listen with open hearts, and to build bridges of understanding across the divides that have separated us for far too long. They are leading by example, demonstrating that a different world is possible, one conversation, one act of kindness, one courageous choice at a time. In the face of overwhelming odds, they are choosing love over fear, hope over despair, and action over apathy. They are the quiet revolutionaries, the everyday heroes who are transforming the world from the ground up, one heart, one mind, one community at a time. The tools for change are within our grasp. We possess the technology to connect with one another instantly, to share information freely, and to mobilize collective action on an unprecedented scale. But technology alone is not enough. It is merely a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or ill. The time for complacency is over. The time for passive observation is past. The future of our world hangs in the balance, and the responsibility rests squarely on our shoulders. It is time to rise to the occasion, to embrace our roles as agents of change, and to create the world we long to see. This is not a task for the faint of heart. It will require courage, determination, and an unwavering belief in the human spirit's boundless potential. But we are not alone in this endeavor. We have the wisdom of the ages to guide us, the lessons of history to illuminate our path, and the unwavering support of countless souls who share our vision for a more just, compassionate, and sustainable world. Let us start by examining our own lives, our own thoughts, words, and actions. Where are we perpetuating the very patterns we seek to change? How can we show up more fully in our relationships, our communities, and our world? Let us commit to cultivating empathy, compassion, and understanding in all our interactions. Let us challenge injustice and inequality wherever we see it, using our voices and our actions to create a more equitable and just society for all. The path ahead will not be easy, but it is the only path worth taking. Let us move forward with courage, with hope, and with an unwavering commitment to creating a world where the seeds of jealousy, greed, and the lust for power wither and die, and the seeds of love, compassion, and interconnectedness flourish and thrive.